I don't know what you think right now, but I got a messy desk and I don't know. I don't know what you. Uh-oh, me and my darn singing. Good morning, y'all. I am. So this morning, I did not have to do the last final check-in at 7 o'clock. So I was like, oh, I get to get my butt in the shower and get all fresh and revibrated and all of that good stuff for today. Happy Juneteenth day to you. I don't know about you, but I am rather excited for that. I remember hearing about Juneteenth for like all the way back in college. If not prior to that, but never really had any celebrations around it. And so the fact that, other than I think I went for a meal one time, Juneteenth meal, but never really had this kind of stuff that we have going on. So I'm excited for today. And I plan on doing something and participating somewhere. Hello, darling Stephanie.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm good.
Good. How was your morning thus far?
So far, so good. I had to cut up a watermelon. That was disappointing.
Don't you hate that?
I do. Because I started to buy half of one, and I was like, well, for the price, I'll just get a whole one. And yeah, so that was a little disappointing, but I'm gonna make the most of it. I got some of that
vodka.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Come back home. It's a Mexican seasoning that you put on fruit.
Oh, okay.
It's really good, and it usually like spices things up. Like, so I'm gonna put some of that on there. It's got a salt, sweet, and it's got some other spices. It's really good, and so I'll put that on there, and I'll put some in my smoothie. That's what I did this morning. Put a little bit in there, but I like the seed watermelons with seeds. And so I had to pick the seeds out, and then I put it in my smoothie. So
where'd you pick up the watermelon?
At Miles Market.
Way out, Brainerd?
Yeah, out Miles Road. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where I shop.
Yeah, I like to go there too. I like that one. It's crazy though. I can't go in there and not get a pie. Their pies are so darn good.
They are. But I'm better. My father, on the other hand, he can't do it.
Girl, they have to tell me that they out before I will walk out of there without a pie. I don't know. So yes, I do not go out there that often because that is my pie spot.
And they have a nice bakery too. I bought last week. I bought a piece of wedding cake. It was good. I sometimes I just want white cake. I don't even have to have the frosting so much, but sometimes I just got a taste for good moist white cake. And so they had some.
So it's always like heartening when I go out there and I see the little Amish ladies sitting out there at the picnic table smoking, but nonetheless they are there, and so that they in the kitchen cooking something up.
Right, exactly.
I'd be like, those pies are all that.
Yeah,
and there was another spot that I used to get my pies from that was much closer. I don't know that there was a significant difference in the price, but it was much closer to me. The thing about them is that I had to order the pies in advance if I wanted to be sure that they had them. I go out to Miles Market sometimes and I will ask, because my favorite is cherry, right? And I will ask if you have any cherry pies, and they usually say, oh, it's still warm, but if we leave this box open just a little bit, it'll cause,
Yes.
you know,
Oh,
the crust
yum.
to crisp up. And I'm thinking, okay, you twist my arm.
Oh gosh, yes. I just came across some dark cherry. I used to make cherry pies before I came back home. Um, but now I need to, I don't have my crust recipe handy, but I'll find it. But that's one of my favorite pies too, but I like to make them with the dark cherries, not the regular red cherries.
Yeah, yeah. There's this
I'll have to check that out. My dad always gets the apple pies, which are phenomenal.
yeah, they're good, but yeah, the cherry is,
I'm glad I don't know nothing
I
about
like that tartness.
that. Yes.
You know
Hmm.
what? And it's so funny because I guess when I think about it, that's the same reason why I like a margarita is because of the tartness. That's something that just gets me. It's like, ooh. But yeah, I yeah. Yeah, my
I had
sister,
margaritas last night. That's why I feel like I'm dragging.
where'd you have margaritas?
My son wanted to go to the taco place that we went to in
Bamba?
Pinecrest. Huh?
Yes.
So
Bamba?
they
Is that oh
condo
canados? Okay.
canados. So
Yes.
they have one in Crocker Park.
Uh-huh.
So we were out there walking around, and then we went there for dinner. I took him to dinner for his birthday, and so yeah, and I only had two margaritas, but they must have been pretty intense. And I haven't been drinking either, so and I've been drinking these smoothies, so my body is like, okay, straight to my head. So yeah, so today I didn't even work out. You saw I wasn't on the call. Got
Okay.
up at 5:42 or something like that. I woke up at 2 o'clock in the morning, and I was hungry. And so I made me one of these smoothies, and then I don't know what time I fell back to sleep. And then I woke up at 5:40 something, and I was like, I think I might have a hangover from two margaritas. Like, wow, that's really wimpy. But my it's my food. Like, okay, two margaritas? What?
Yeah. Yeah.
Really nice. It's much smaller than the one over here by us,
Okay.
but it was nice. It was nice.
Okay. And they have an outside patio?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Nice, nice, nice. Good morning, Desmond.
Good morning.
Yay.
I don't
So,
have my book, so I think
okay,
I left it in my car because I took it over his house. I was
no
sharing some
worries, no worries, no worries. So,
all morning.
but yeah, I'm excited about the day. And I was talking to Rhonda and Dr. Let or Dr. Poe, I think she calls her.
Mm-hmm.
Um this morning because I was going back and forth about, sometimes I get on some kind of stick or some kind of thing. And so I was going back and forth about the Juneteenth celebrations. And I keep telling folks I want my doggone 40 acres. Y'all could have all the holiday stuff y'all want to, but
I'm with you.
I want my I want my 40 acres. I'm like, mm-mm. So yes, and I did use your theory about the commercialization of
Oh,
it,
did you?
that out there. Like that's gonna be commercialized at some point. But
Oh,
no,
it already is. They got the Black Friday. I don't know what they calling it, Black something, where they're like got all these markdowns and great prices. Target and everybody got sales going on today and tomorrow and Monday. It's
yeah.
crazy.
You
Like,
know,
oh,
I don't turn on my TV. A guy an event I went to the other day, I was talking about my mornings, and he comes up to me and he was like, well, what do you do with your nights? And I was like, what nights? I'm asleep.
I'm asleep. That's what you do. You go to bed by 9 o'clock.
Yeah, I was like, what night? I don't have no nights anymore. We were getting tickets to the Lion King the other day, and I'm looking at at how long the doggone Lion King was, and I was like, "Ooh, that's too late. Let's do a matinee." I feel like a little old lady. Let's do a matinee. So we're doing a matinee because not because the kids can't stay up, it's because Auntie cannot stay up.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway,
That's funny.
yeah, I think
Part
so.
of the journey, but you get so much done in the morning. I hate I don't want to use that word hate, it's too strong. But I don't like it when I'm not up by 4, at least by 4 o'clock. Every day. So
Mhm,
this is like a off morning because it's late, and
mhm.
and then once I get up and start moving around, I'm like, man, I wish I had gotten up 2 hours earlier because once I get up, I started cutting the watermelon, making my smoothie, making coffee, and
Yeah,
I didn't get that extra hour and a half because I woke up for whatever reason and went back to sleep. But so I think the commanding my morning is like what's up for me.
yeah. I got up late because I got up at 4:50 this morning,
Okay.
but I was still outside by the time we started the 5 a.m. club. And get this, now I don't know. Sometimes I don't know. I don't want to say I don't know who to be, but I'm out there working out and I walk to the end of the driveway and here come these little girls walking down the street in the middle of the street. And most of them are teenagers and they had that 11-year-old, which I think she's either 10 or 11, but they had her with her and they're walking in the middle of the street,
5 o'clock in the
five
morning.
o'clock in the morning. And
Oh,
I said, "What are y'all doing out here?"
oh my
And they
God.
said, "We felt like going for a walk." And I wanted to say, "I'm gonna walk down there and tell your mama." That's who I wanted to be. I was like, you know what, your mama, y'all was sleeping on the floor in the living room, your mama upstairs, and y'all done walked out the door and she
Who
don't know.
want to go for a walk at 5 o'clock in the morning? And so for what? To do what? You can't even stop at the corner store and buy a bubble gum.
I don't know why they are out on the street.
And in the road.
I I was like, and with that little girl with them.
Oh, my phone is
But
ringing.
I was just like thinking, what is that about? Do I tell your mama or not? It's just, I do like being the adult on the street that they come and talk to. So I got you. You got a call to take. All right. Good morning, everybody. I know Desmond has checked in and whoever else has checked in. I'm so sorry. We sometimes, since Stephanie and I don't talk outside of what we do here, it's like sometimes we spend the first part. I used to get on here early, right? So if we were starting at 7:15, I'd come on a little earlier so we could talk a little bit beforehand. But since we don't talk that much, it's like it's catching up and doing all of this, back and forth. So you get to hear us talk, and sometimes it's interesting. Faith, what you doing up at this time of morning? Hey, girl, it's really early for her because I think you're towards the West Coast or wherever. I don't know, but hey, good morning. So yeah, so we get to talk before at the beginning of the thing, and then move into this stuff. And I just think it just kind of helps and sets the thing. Hopefully it's not putting you to sleep. So anyway, we are in this thing in Anatomy of the Spirit by Carolyn Miss. And we are going into, or we are into the ethical energy and how that basically operates in our second chakra. And so yesterday we talked a little bit about how our organs, especially our sex organs, sort of maintain this integrity, the personal integrity that we have is sort of like a storehouse. I think that she uses that these types of things are promises, and the promises that we break are warehoused or stored in our sexual organs. And so it talks a lot about how ethically all of that is carried in that particular area. Now, could you imagine now? So I just got the image, like, you want to talk about some putrid stuff. Could you imagine if you were storing up a bunch of untruths and lies in that area? You talk about something that smells. I mean, that would really be funky, right? Um, if that were the case. And so if we look at it like that, like that being a storehouse of compounded energy based on your level of honesty or your level of integrity, the ethical questions that you have, it being stored in that area. So not only would that be, when I said putrid or smelly, but also it, she says this stuff in here leads to our own impotence. And when we think about impotence, we usually only think about men with that, with that inability to get erect, but also in women with our inability to function. Because know it or not, men have erections, and so too do women. And this is part of our anatomy. And so when it stops working like normal, when you stop either lubricating like normal, or your clit stops getting aroused like normal, that too is the same kind of impotence that women have. I don't know if they call it those words or that use those words, but if it's being stored in there, it is. So this mental stuff, when she says our biography, that means the things that we do in life, biography, autobiography, the things that we do in life become part of our biology. That stuff is stored right there. And so we have got to figure out, if you're having issues, then maybe sometimes you need to really do a good internal cleansing, a mental cleansing. That means, really doing a self inventory and seeing what it is that you need to get rid of. And through us doing these morning things, I am basically talking about ways in which I process my thinking, which, I'm not saying that everybody has to think like me, but it is helpful to be self-reflective, to be to determine the quality of your spirit through self-examination. And when you find something that doesn't line up, or something that seems out of sync, then to know how to correct that, how to do an about face. So I'm going to delve into this a little bit. I'm on page 157, if any of you are following along with me in the book. So I'm going to delve into this a little bit and do my normal, as you know. So she says the physical order of which the first chakra is in charge makes us feel safe, and its laws make us feel that control exists within our environment. And I think we got off on this part yesterday. The ethics and morals of the second chakra provide us with a language through which we can communicate what we accept and don't accept in human relationships. So yeah, so I talked about this a bit yesterday, because there are some things that that we will find that will be totally unacceptable when we're being true to self. And so sometimes we get caught up, especially when we're younger, we get caught up in having friends and relationships that may lead us down a path that we don't necessarily want to go, like, because in and of ourselves we already know that it's wrong, or I'm not doing that, or it goes against our code of honor. So ethics holds enormous bonding power. We seek out the company of those who hold the same sense of right and wrong as we do. And when people deviate from their ethical or moral character, we often disqualify them as intimate companions. So yesterday we talked about slavery and we talked about racism as it relates to those types of choices, but also it goes into a whole bunch of other choices. Let me tell you what happened to me one time. This just popped up for me. I was in my depression, I will call it. And for if you've ever heard me talk about some of the times that I've gone through a depression, I have been depressed. And my depression doesn't necessarily show up like other people's depression. My depression showed up for me this particular time in what I called and characterized as a self estrangement, meaning that I was not the reflective thinking person that is my normal. I was just kind of like sleepwalking. I'll say it like that. And so every time somebody said, do you want to? I was like, yes, I didn't care what it was. And so I found myself on a particular, I used to find myself on particular days hanging out in a dark bar at what was a teacher's happy hour, which meant like 2:30, 3:00, 3:30, something like that, showing up into a bar that was just dark and everybody sitting in there drinking. And everybody in there thought that they were philosophers and would be, arguing and having one of those knee slapping good times, right? And I used to go in there and hang out with them. And then all of a sudden, one day, I tell people all the time, I had that prodigal son moment where I came to myself and I looked around and I was thinking to myself, what am I doing here? Like, who are these people? Anyway, on one of those particular days, when I was going through that period, one of those days I had got up, and this was when, I don't want to say when cell phones were new, because they weren't new, right? They have been out for a couple of years, but we didn't have the locks on them that we do now. We didn't have the thumbprint or the codes, at least mine's didn't. We didn't have the type of cell phones that we now have with the security measures that's just built right in. And so I had one of those, I could tell y'all the kind of phone I had. I had one of those phones where you slide the top and then you've got the little keyboard that you can type into. You're typing like this, but you slide that and then you slide it back when you don't want the keyboard. I had one of those types of phones. And anyway, I needed to go to the bathroom. And so I laid my phone down and I let it sit there on the bar where it had been while I was sitting there. And I go to the bathroom. When I come back from the bathroom, why were the women that I was sitting with at the bar, why were they going through my phone? Right? And yes, it was a sidekick. That's what it's called. Yes. Why were they going through my phone? And so I was like, what you doing with my phone? Oh, I needed to make a call. Well, what's wrong with your phone? Oh, my battery is low. And I'm thinking, now all of y'all looking at my phone because you need to make a phone call. And it was just like one of those things. Now here's the issue that I had with this, because this not only happened that time, but it happened another time. I was at a house party, and the same group of women, somebody had left their purse in the room and was someplace else, and these same group of women were going through that woman's purse. And I got a problem with that. Why? Right? So right off, there is a code of honor among people. And you have the assumption, I have the assumption, that if other people are around, you may be curious, but that's not something that you do because you know that it's inappropriate. Right? You know that it's inappropriate for you to be picking up my phone first off. And I don't care if you were looking for your husband's phone number to see that if it was in my phone, it's still my phone. And I had a real problem with the fact that this group of posse of people were complicit in violating another person's privacy or their space. So I knew that this was not necessarily a group that I was going to hang out with because I didn't like their ethics, right? Because if nothing else, somebody else in the group should have said, why are y'all going through that girl's purse? Which is what I said. Why are you going through her purse? I was just trying to make, no. Don't. I hate when people try to insult my intelligence by trying to make it seem like you knew whose purse it was when you picked it up. Oh, that's so-and-so's purse. Well, it don't take you digging through her stuff in order for you to determine whose purse it is. And so when you are around people who do not hold the same moral values or have the same moral compass or the same ethical reasons you do, that causes a split, right? That ought to cause something to come up in you. Yes, it can start fights, right? But for me, I try to be generous with people. I knew when she told me about, oh, I was, whatever reason you picked up my phone, whatever reason you're going through my phone. So you're going to tell me one thing, trying to insult my intelligence like I don't know better, right? But and so that's the story you give me because you got caught. But those kinds of things make you stop and pause and say, this is not. I'm gonna give you another example. I had a friend of mine that I used to go out with on a, I don't want to say on a regular basis, but we would occasionally hang out. And so anyway, one day I'm meeting her for happy hour. It's after work. And so she comes in and she sits down and she says, so-and-so is coming up here. And I was like, oh, okay. And she says, please don't mention, and she says this guy's name that we have gone out for drinks with, we had gone to dinner with, we had gone to a concert with. It's a guy who we see, and because of her, it was her friend, so we would hang out with him fairly often, and he was always taking us someplace. And she says to me, don't mention him, right? And I'm thinking, I was like, well, I wasn't going to, but okay. And she was like, yeah, this is his wife that's coming up here, so don't say anything. I was like, you hussy ass, got somebody you calling your friend, and we out kicking it with her husband, and now you don't want me to say something? I was like, I'm done with her. I'm done with you. I was like, first off, it's one thing for me. It's one thing to be messing around with the guy, but then to be in her face and acting like you her friend, I was just like, okay, I'm done with that. And then what she said to me is it's not like I'm trying to take them. All right. So I was like, okay, I'm done with you. I'm done with that. Right. I'm done. Done. Because her moral character did not fit with my own. And so her idea of friendship did not fit with my own, which meant that I needed to exit that relationship, right? It meant that it was one that I could no longer in my mind deal with. I couldn't justify it. I couldn't, none of that stuff. So I had to bounce, right? And for all of us, there is this, sometimes there are things that you know and that you are aware of and you make decisions for or concessions for. And then there are some things that just like, if you could be her friend and do this to her, what as my friend can you do to me, right? It just did not jive. So that was like, it disqualified us for, now that's not to say that when I see her that, I don't know all her kids' names and that I don't ask about, her family and, we could be all cool and lovey-dovey like that. But yeah, you're not going to be in my intimate space. That means that all of a sudden you go from being somebody that's up close and personal to me with me to girl, good seeing you. How you been? Yeah, that comes up, right? So when it talks about this ethical stuff, when you override it, when you override the things, your sense of right and wrong, you set yourself up for real problems. That becomes an internal conflict that you then have to deal with. So we also want our God, and she is a lowercase g on that God. We also want our God to be an orderly God. And we are forever trying to crack through the divine code of right and wrong, reward and punishment in an attempt to reason why bad things happen to good people. And so most of the time, people have the supposition or presuppose that there is a sense of reward when we are walking the straight and narrow. Even though it says in the good book that most of us have read or read or whatever, or that we ascribe to, even though it says that the rain falls on the just and the unjust, right? That into every one of us, we are going to come into moments that really and truly at a deep level cause us to question the nature of things, right? To make us wonder if there is something out there that is aware that we deserve better, right? So we all have those moments. We all have those moments. But here's what I will tell you. I will tell you this. I probably do not believe in have a definition of God like most people do. And so when I deal with my spirituality, I don't think that my spirituality, that who I am, makes me exempt from shit happening, right? I don't think that I am ever at a point of exemption, no matter how much good I do in the world. Even a Mother Teresa is not exempt from stuff happening. But what spirituality does and the walk does is it makes you better equipped to deal with it when it does. And so rather than it feeling like you running into a brick wall, you feel like you go over a speed bump and it's like just like that. And it's like, oh man, wow, that was a speed bump, right? It doesn't take you out. It doesn't knock you out. It doesn't cause you to, so the ways that you deal with your issues become different, not that you have them, right? The way that you deal with them, the severity of how it affects or impacts you, the ways that it's almost like a fighter being in really good shape. You can, you come up and you throw in some of your best jabs and they just take them just like, you ain't did nothing, right? Like, what's that? That's how it is when you got you a good spiritual practice going. What's that? I mean, I used to say, I don't mean to be braggadocious about this, but I've been walking this walk long enough that when something happens, I'll be like, God, is that the best you could do? Like, like that. Like, and that's not to say that I'm inviting anything in, right? But I just be, I sit up there and I feel like, oh, I did that obstacle course and I'm good, right? I'm good. I praise God. I learned how to be grateful and praise anyway. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So that all is in this second chakra thing. So we take comfort in believing that if human justice fails, divine justice will see that all receive their just desserts, right? And so that thing of karmic law, most of the time, we just allow karma to do what karma does. And I don't know about you, but I know that there are some people that struggle more than others. There will be some people that'll be oblivious. Some people will get knocked out and still not have this self-awareness to say, or to connect the dots, right? They don't have the self-awareness to say, just like I did the other day with that darn mosquito being in my house. It's like, okay, Sandra, stop killing the darn flies. And yeah, right. So we have to be responsible for ourselves and what we do and what we bring into the world. So you guys, if you have any questions or comments or something that I need to drill down on, you can type that in the window. And I'm pulling up my other device here, because sometimes what happens is stuff tends to freeze on my screen. And when it freezes on my screen, sometimes I don't see all of the comments. So I appreciate yeah. Okay, so I don't see any new comments. So maybe I'm good, right? So if you have any anything that you want to add to the conversation, you could just type it in the window. So then she goes on to say, because the second chakra harbors all of our individual survival fears, we have constructed an external legal system that supports some semblance of fair play, which is crucial to our well-being. Some semblance, yeah, of fair play. Exercising legal power or even using legal vocabulary provides a release valve of sorts for pressures that build up in that second chakra area. Let me see. The legal system, at least in theory, is a means of determining guilt and punishing violations. Frequently, an innocent verdict is seen as a matter of honor, and the financial settlement, the victim gains. Look, I'm sorry, I didn't even turn the page. The victim gains represents the result of some personal dignity. So that's good, right? Because sometimes what we do is that when we feel as if we've been vindicated from something, we believe that the legal system sets us free or holds us harmless. But the thing about the second chakra is that it holds a record. So say, for instance, if you actually did a crime or a violation or whatever it is, you've done something wrong. Let's presuppose that you've actually done something wrong. But now you get vindicated, you get found not guilty for whatever reason. While the legal system may call you innocent, your spirit knows something different. And that stuff is stored in your energy system. As a matter of fact, it becomes you living with a lie that can eat you from the inside out. So it doesn't matter so much about whether or not a judge or a jury says that you're guilty. When you're guilty and you know it, that's why you see people who will confess stuff on their deathbed or want to later have a change of heart, because they are tired of that being something that lives in their spirit. And so sometimes we feel, honored when somebody releases us from something, like, yeah, I told you I wasn't guilty or whatever. We feel like it's a matter of honor. But on the other hand, there's a violation that's been done. Somebody has been wronged. That person may still carry around that sense of, how could they? How could they not see this? How could they not, so on one hand, you got one person over here that's reeling, And then you got another person over here that's like, hey, I told you when you wasn't getting me, right? And so you got that shift or that dynamic. That energy does not dissipate and go away. It may not be on the books anymore, but it doesn't go away. And so a financial settlement, right, from the victim says that, sometimes people feel as if they've been seen and heard, and therefore that was what they wanted or the desire that they had. Not necessarily all the time because they want the money as a justification, right? But because their violation has been honored. So yes, I still want my 40 acres. I still want my 40 acres. And that is a return of some personal dignity of yeah, yes. This dynamic is the social version of the sacred honor, sacred truth, honor one another. So the need for fair play, hey, Andre, good morning. The need for fair play and law and order is felt in our biology, where we observe physical laws of health, such as exercise, proper nutrition, conscious regulation of stress, and the measure of consistency and order. These laws signal our physiology that we are physically safe and trust our environment. Instability, by contrast, keeps our adrenaline flow full strength and our fight or flight mechanism on continual alert. The physical body cannot endure prolonged stress without producing negative biological response. And so we seek all of us to have peace of mind, to feel safe and to feel comfortable. It is one of our biological needs that we have. And so like when we are on continual alert, that adrenaline flow sometimes begins to manifest itself in health ailments like high blood pressure or diabetes or any number of things. And we have felt that, and we felt that congestion within our system because it is in our system without having the ability sometimes to control what is going on. And so when I talk about these environmental aggravators, right? So whether it is the helicopters that menace us by flying overhead all the time, or the potholes that we have to endure, or the school systems that don't see or don't appear to see or honor our kids. We got so many environmental stressors that contribute to this idea that it produces a negative response in our bodies. And so our bodies become on this continuous alert. She says, ulcers and migraines are two of the more common indicators that chaos in a person's life has become unbearable. And so you have to really look at and think about the ways in which the system, the environment that you're in is impacting your health. If it is happening in your own home. Now, so say for instance, you live in the hood, right? There's one thing about the stuff that goes on, and sometimes you feel powerless to make changes to it, right? Some people just move. Other people try to deal directly with what it is that's bothering them. So say, for instance, if it is groundhogs, or if it is like, I had that neighbor, and I talk about this sometimes because he doesn't live over there anymore. But I used to wake up every morning to this guy calling his mother a B, saying, B, what you want for breakfast? Like that was something that somebody wanted to wake up to. And he wasn't talking to me, this crazy, but was talking to his mama. But I had to hear it because my windows were open. I couldn't help but hear it. And so that was an environmental stressor. And then when it bothered me enough, then I needed to begin to do something about it. So what did I do? I did a number of things. Not only did I start calling the police on him and reporting him for elder abuse, but then I put a camera out there because I was like, I'm gonna tape your butt. Because every time I come, the mother starts saying, oh no, he's such a good, that's my son. He's a good boy. He over there beating you up. And you can't even say that he's beating you up. And so I needed to do something about it. And so eventually what happened was is that the police didn't intervene. They told me, oh, call call so-and-so or call this, call it. They were no help when it came down to this because she was always like saying, no, he's not doing this. It was that one of his siblings caught him. Mama had a black eye. And so then they put him out. It wasn't until then, right? But that was stressing me out. It became pressure for me too, right? I would have had addressed him hard. Well, that fool wasn't he what okay, so the guy on the other side of him pulled a gun on his butt. Now, it did not stop him from all the craziness that he was doing, right? But it did get him up off of his back, right? He pulled a gun out on him. That's how crazy that knucklehead was. And there was a woman up the street. I think that woman I think that woman used to take his money, give him a little nookie and take his money, right? And so every time the woman's guy was out there, he would be out there talking mess like, that's mad. That's mad. He out there just all kind of crazy stuff in the middle of the street. And that girl, she went through some stuff, but you got to learn this, not take crazy man's money, right? I don't care how much you think he got. She over there trying to take his money, and he was, every time he saw her, he was letting everybody know loud. So yeah, it just, he was off the chain. But it was a stressor. It was a stressor. I can't even tell you. Whew. So all of that becomes a part of, I gotta, yeah, y'all, yeah, whatever. Anyway, let's see, where was I at? So the need for fair play and law and order is felt in our biology, where we observe physical laws of health, such as exercise, proper nutrition, conscious regulation of stress, and a measure of consistency and order. The laws signal our physiology that, okay, so I read all of that. I'm into the next thing, right? Sorry. She should not. Yeah. Okay. So now we go into a different thing. Paul, 42, is an attorney who contacted me for a reading because he said his stress related to his job was getting to him. While doing his reading, I received the impression that toxic energy was trying to penetrate into his second chakra, as if someone or something was trying to control him. Then I realized that Paul suffered from chronic pain, from migraines to backaches to neck and shoulder pain. When I shared my impressions with him, Paul verified them, saying that he had been in varying degrees of pain for the past 10 years, and he tried therapy and it hadn't helped. He popped pain pills like candy, which explained my impression that something was trying to control him. He was terrified of being addicted to his pain medication. The source of his pain, I pointed out to him, was his compulsion to want everything to go according to his plans. Oh my gosh. As a part of this control obsession, he had to win no matter what he was doing. be it a matter of law, sports, card games, or even getting somewhere first. Ah, y'all, I have had people who talk about the level of their competitiveness. And this one woman, I was asking, I said, because I am not a competitive person. I'm not, that's not in my nature. Because I don't see myself as in conflict, or I don't perceive myself as having something against somebody else. I'm not trying to be better. I'm not trying to do more, be more, not against somebody else. My person is me, right? I'm just trying to be the best me I can be. I don't look at people and think, ooh, about your house or your husband or nothing. That's not my thing. I'm doing me, right? So I'm not competitive like that. But I have met people who say that if they see another car, they got to speed up so they can pass the car. Or if they see somebody walking down the hall, they speed up because they can't walk behind somebody, they have to pass them. It's an obsession that some people have to be first, or to be better, or to have whatever that is. I don't get it. I don't understand that, right? That it's a foreign concept, but I see people all the time who have this, or have the need to feel as if they can control something, right? um and so so let me go on. I've seen that. I've seen it happen, and it seems as though it would be corrosive, right, to your spirit if that was the case. He was driven by a need to control, and now that he is taking pain medication, he was tormented by the possibility of being controlled by something. For Paul, such a development would mean losing his sense of honor. Now, I can relate to that, because one of the things that I do on a regular basis is just to make sure that stuff don't have control over me. I cut it out for a while. I tell people all the time, I go off of coffee for a while, because I'm sitting up there thinking, like, you are not gonna be the boss of me, right? I get up and it's like I'm just thinking to myself, yeah, like I wean myself off of coffee. I don't have it for a while, and then I go back to drinking coffee. It's just what I do, because I just don't like the idea of not being or having control over my own self, right? Um, Paul believed that if he was dominated by something or someone, he was but inches away from compromising his integrity. That was his personal code of honor. So now, when we talk about this issue of compromising personal integrity, a lot of times it's not just pain medicine that does that for people. Sometimes it's, we got addictions to sex. People have addictions to um, affluence, right? So whether it's, the cars that we drive, or the theater that we go to, the meals, there's any number of ways in which we have pseudo affluence that we participate in this life. And sometimes that becomes the thing that we're so holding so tightly on, because what do we call it? Our standard of living changes depending upon the relationships that we're in, or the people that we're around, or the jobs that we work, or any number of things. And that compromises our integrity as well. When we can't even be true to ourselves because we're trying to be true to everything else, or we're trying to show up for everything else. If a job is eroding your spirit, right? That shows up in that second chakra issue, right? It doesn't just dissipate or go away, or just because you keep pushing it down or beating it back doesn't mean that it goes away. I used to work a job when I was younger, much younger, out at Randall Park Mall, right? I was out at Randall Park Mall. And I must have worked there for years. And then, well, so there was a number of things that was happening. one of which was I got engaged. I got engaged to a guy who I started dating in high school. And we dated. He asked me to marry him. And the moment he asked me to marry him, I was so excited. And I was like, oh, yes, 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 right? All day long. Yes. I was thinking to myself, like, but then the headache started. And those darn headaches felt like just migraines. Oh my God. They were so bad. I could hardly hold my head up. I was just like, just unbelievably painful. And, at first I was trying to do all kind of stuff, trying to, alleviate. What do you do? And finally, one day he calls me up and I pick up the phone and I said, I can't do this. And he's like, do what? I said, I can't marry you. And he's like, well, why not? And I was like, I don't have an answer for you. I don't have an answer for you. I just know that in my spirit, it's not right. Right. I can't do it. And it was like the headaches just lifted up off of me. Just miraculously, like poof, right? So fast forward, and then I was still working out at Random Mall. And then when I got ready to go to work, I was only working there maybe, I don't know, it wasn't even full time. But every time I got ready to walk into that mall, it was as if there would be this dark cloud that would come over me. And then it would just rest in my head. And it would just be like, oh, I felt like when I walked in there, it would just be like a major migraine headache. And, for a minute there, I was trying to deal with it, but I was like, because I had been through that with that engagement, I knew that when it started, I wasn't doing anything different in my life. I wasn't eating anything different, going different places. Nothing had changed, but it was time. And I remember, I remember hearing a sermon one time that talked about how when it's time for us to move on, where we are becomes so uncomfortable that it's almost unbearable. And so you start compensating and doing everything that you can so that you can stay in place. But spirit is telling you to move. Spirit is saying it's time for you to go. It's time for you to grow. And could you imagine that, like I love that thing that I shared last week that was talking about when, an embryo or a bird, once it has grown too big for the shell it is in, that shell breaks and it enters into a whole new realm of being. An embryo, once it gets too big for the stomach, for the place where it is, that water breaks and it comes out into a whole new world. Sometimes we have to realize that we grow beyond the confines that we were once in, and it is time when we grow, it's time for us to move on. And some people are so busy trying to stay put, trying to keep things the same, that they will make themselves sick, literally kill themselves to stay stuck where they are. Y'all, I feel like, I gotta go. It's time to go. It's time to grow, right? And so you have to recognize when those moments come up in your life. So she says, I suggested to Paul that since Paul was an attorney, he should draw up a contract with himself through which he would step by step reorder his life. He could make his controlling but honorable nature work with him by gradually changing his need to control outcomes. With each success, I told him, the energy generated by his success would be more likely to ease his pain. He loved the idea, no doubt, because he can control the contents of that contract. He said he would draw up the agreement immediately and fax me a copy, which he did the next day. 3 months later, Paul sent me a note commenting that he had made progress with his healing ever since he put himself under contract to heal. As a way of beating his need to win, he forbade himself to place bets on anything. This is really good. Let me finish reading this. He allowed his winning compulsion to continue only in legal matters where it was appropriate. He had never realized, he said, that everyone who knew him interpreted his need to win as an obnoxious, competitive nature. His pain was healing, his migraines were becoming more infrequent, and his back pain had improved to the point where he could once again exercise. So she says Paul's story conveys a symbolic meaning of taking communion with oneself. That is, agreeing with yourself to make yourself whole and balanced. So long as a dysfunctional part of your nature negatively influences the rest of your system, your energy will be depleted and dividing you against yourself. Paul was able to make a successful contract with himself and to heal. So when you think about this, sometimes we are out of balance with ourselves for any number of reasons. It could have to do with this kind of competitive nature. Sometimes it has to do with when our values, what we say we value, is out of alignment with what we do. Let me give you an example. Say, for instance, you say that your primary value is your family. But if you ask your family might say that your primary value is your job, or the income derived from your job, or the prestige or the money that is derived from your job. But you say that your primary is your family. And so what that causes is out of balance or out of sync. What you're saying doesn't come into alignment with what you're doing, with your actions. And so it causes this upheaval, this thing, And so our energy field, our biology seeks to make those corrections. When you don't, and you feel out of kilter, out of alignment with what you say that you believe, what you value, right? Some people will sit there and we give a lot of lip service to talking about, oh, we put God first in our lives, but have absolutely no clue what that means, right? Because what happens is this, not that we are putting God first. Most of the time we're putting religion first, or we are our understanding or misunderstanding of what God is. We put that first. And we don't even delve into it to really like drill down and figure out what we believe. And so it becomes this thing of, we feel a lot of people are in turmoil because while they may say that they are putting God first or their spiritual life first, they never really investigate what it means. And so they do what somebody else tells them to do. They do what the church tells them to do, or what they hear someplace else tells them to do, and never really take time to do the interior, that internal work that causes them to go within. And even with that, somebody has said to you that you can only meditate in certain ways or on certain things. You can't just be open. I remember somebody telling me that you got to meditate on scripture, or you got to meditate. I was like, I don't have, wait, you, first off, like, I love that this thing this woman said. She was like, well, who are you to tell me what I need to do, what I got to do, right? Who, by what authority? By what authority do you come with that, right? Because that's my first thing, like, boy, bye. I'm running this, right? This my house. I'm running this house, right? So I don't just follow because somebody says follow. right? That's that. I love the term pasteurized. People will ask you who your pastor is because they want to see your pasteurization, the level of your pasteurization. We have got to learn how to know thyself, how to go within or go without. That becomes the investigation. And for some people, that's really scary. For some people, it seems like it's a hello, is anybody in here moment, some folks are like that, right? And you got all these people. It's kind of like Dorothy landing in the what was the land of the Mumsians. She's her house lands and she's looking around and she ain't seeing nobody. Sometimes that's how we feel when we go in, right? We don't see nobody, nothing. And then all of a sudden here comes something peeping around the corner, like trying to figure out if it's safe for it to show itself. And then you begin to see all of the many facets of who you are when you are just able to just kind of stand in that and just let it be what it is instead of judging it, right? Not sitting up there thinking like, what are you sniveling about? That little part of you that wants to whine and complain or be somebody's victim instead of just, loving it. What's wrong? Why are you here? Why are you showing up? I thought I healed you a long time ago, right? But yeah, I see you still standing here sniveling. You didn't see me, right? You haven't seen it. So when all of these pieces, parts of yourself start coming out, it's to love them and to see them, right? And to acknowledge them and know that they need resolution before they can, before they can just be filed away in that Rolodex that you have going on inside of you. That all of that is, I don't know where that came from, but whatever the case may be, it is there. There it is. Boom, there it is. All right. So because humans are by nature a species that seek law and order, we fall easily under the sway of people who project authority and seek to control. And sometimes, right? Look at this. Sometimes it says we fall easily under their control. Sometimes we give over control to people who are not even embodied anymore, right? You pick up a book and the book tells you do blah, 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 right? Because you think that they are a level of authority or should have some kind of authority. We do it. We follow it without ever questioning it. So it's not even so much that these people are living, breathing, walking, talking beings that are on this earth. People, for some reason, are followers and like to follow other folks. I don't know what that's about, but our instinct to trust the people with whom we live and work is an extension of the energy of honor one another. It is unnatural to feel that you have to look over your shoulder while trying to create something together with others. Yet many people misuse power to control rather than to support others. So within our personal relationships, it is normal to create a set of rules that both parties agree to follow. No extramarital affairs. Look at that. How did that show up in there? No gambling, no major purchases without mutual agreement, and so on. Setting rules in order to control another person's emotional, mental, psychological, or spiritual growth, however, is energetically destructive, right? So if in the context of your relationship, you make up rules that make it more comfortable for you to exist, I get it, right? But when you try to set up rules to control their stuff, right? Even their growth, their trajectory, who their friends are, all of that stuff, that becomes like, yeah, that's overbearing. And that happens, right? It happens. I must question everything, including me. Yes. In general, if a couple cannot expand their original rules and boundaries to accommodate personal growth, the relationship disintegrates. And I know this happens, right? Because I've seen it happen. People want to control who you associate with. right? Even when it's not, like, say for instance, it's not your time. I can't even talk about that particular incident. So let me tell you about one that I can't talk about, right? Because I think they're both deceased now. I used to have a neighbor growing up who she was a single woman who had been living in this house, let's say for 40 years alone by herself. She had a neighbor who was a married man who had changed wives several times in the course of being in proximity to one another. And then there was our house, right? And so this one neighbor, who some single woman, she would make coffee every morning. The neighbor, who was a married man, went to her house every single morning for coffee. Now, that's not to say that anything was going on, right? Not to say that at all. But that was his routine. He got up, he walked next door, and he had coffee, right? Now, that only becomes a problem if his wife, whichever one it was, had a problem with it. But otherwise, that was his morning routine. He went over there and he had coffee, and they would sit and talk for the first hour of his day. And then he goes on by his business and she goes on with her day. Now, for some people, regardless of whether his wife slept late or not, or made coffee or not, some people would have issue or problem with that. Even if this had been going on for 30, 40 years and it wasn't, it just was what they did. Some people would have problems with that because they feel like they wanted to control every aspect of a person's life. We don't know what, I certainly don't. I just know that it was what they did every day. I know they went upstairs, like, getting it on. I know that, even as they turned 60 and got in their 60s and stuff like that, they wasn't going upstairs doing nothing. It wasn't, I don't know what they may have done when they was younger, but I knew that, and sometimes they were out on the porch and sometimes they were in the kitchen. It just depended on the weather or whatever. But that was what they did. And so some people have this need to be so in control. So, like, I need to, know, like, under my thumb kind of thing. That it becomes something, a point of contention. Oh my God, how long have I been talking, y'all? It's time for me to go. Let me finish up this paragraph, because I want to finish up this paragraph. So setting rules in order to control one another's emotional, mental, psychological, spiritual growth, however, is energetically destructive in general. If a couple cannot expand their or original rules and boundaries to accommodate personal growth, the relationship disintegrates. Parents sometimes violate their children spiritually and emotionally through imposing harsh rules as a way to establish parental authority. The personal vengeance is yet another misuse of the second chakra. Oh, I can't do this one without but it's the last paragraph before we go into personal power of the second chakra. But I will have to do this one tomorrow because I don't like just skipping over stuff as if it was like something I need to crunch into some time, because it's already 8:35, and so it's really time for me to jump off of here. I really try to be off of here at 8:30, but I don't know. I'm busy running my mouth and I just let the time slip by me. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate your time, your attention, your support, and I hope that this is is as as informative for you as it is for me, right? So I'm going to let you go. It's Saturday. Today is Juneteenth. I plan on going down to Mall C. I might attend some events over on Larchmere. There's stuff going on. We're going to see where I'm going, right? But I will be out and about, and I encourage you to get out and about and enjoy this wonderful holiday. It's still the air still feels a little heavy. I'm wondering if it's going to rain anymore. But whatever the case may be, try to get out and enjoy your day. Have a fabulous day. Stephanie, I thank you for being here. Although her presence is still here. I still see her bright, shiny face on my screen, but I know that since she turned off her camera, you can't see her. So I will be safe. Thank you, Andre. But yeah, you guys, I hope you enjoy this fabulous day, and I will be here tomorrow, twice tomorrow, because tomorrow is a Sunday. I can't believe how quickly these days roll around, but they do. So whatever the case may be, I hope you have an amazingly juicy day. All right. So I'll see you tomorrow, God willing, and the creek don't rise. Thank you for being here. Love you. Bye. And it is a wrap. Okay. Oh, I didn't hit the end button. I hit the off camera button. Whatever. All right. So now it's a wrap. See ya.